Chapter 6, Episode 7 Invitation of the Gear of the Hammer. Will WLAN be taken off? Falma thinks that it was inevitable that the bomb was dropped so unexpectedly that it was inevitable that his voice came out unintentionally. The Empress turned around and the priests gave me a strange look, but I didn't have time to make it up to them. And the Empress asked me exactly. What's the matter, Falma? Wafa. I'm sorry I'm getting sick, but could you give me some time? Anyway, Falma wanted to be alone and check the situation. Even if I had to make the people around me wait a while, I had no choice but to do so because I didn't know how long I would receive radio waves. The Empress and the Cardinal Priest had no choice but to agree to their delay because Falma's physical condition had suddenly changed. I don't mind. I'll come back when I feel better. If it's a little late, I'll tell His Holiness Pius. I'm sorry. I don't feel well. Falma was led to the nearest restroom with a toilet. The toilets in the Holy Land are flush toilets, considered the most modern in the world. A Victorian toilet invented in England in the 18th century, where the underside of the perforated ceramic toilet seat is connected to the sewer and water is flushed from the reservoir stored above to wash excrement. As I recall, in the St. Fleuve Empire, it was still a chair toilet with a drawer at the foot of the chair, and it was customary for the servant to pick it up and throw it in a designated place. I think it's nice that the toilets in the Holy Land are clean, but I have nothing to do with the toilets for now. With my smartphone in hand, I zoomed in on the photo of the basement door I had just taken earlier. The photo screen shows nothing strange. Since Falma came to the Holy Land, he has been taking photos liberally with his smartphone for sightseeing, research, and recording. The smartphone Falma brought from the lab had turned into a hidden treasure and was invisible to human eyes, and the shutter sound could not be heard either. But since Falma brought his smartphone into the world, he has never received a Wi-Fi signal again. Of course, but only once. And Wi-Fi is out of range in this break room. Falma approached the window closer to the door where he had previously picked up the Wi-Fi, and when he opened the window, he could barely pick up the radio waves and connect. The source seems to be in the same direction as before. Even Falma is beyond comprehension that the Cardinal section of the Holy Land was a free Wi-Fi spot. I can't believe you can come here and connect to the internet. Whereas the company that sold radio waves to another world? Falma immediately checked the SSID and looked at the identification name of the access point. What was there, however, was a completely unexpected ID. That's in our lab. It was the one Falma used during his lifetime in the campus WLAN of the university he belonged to, and also in his own lab. And when I checked the radio wave situation, there was not a single WLAN. However, as Falma recalled, there was no wireless or wired LAN in the lab of another world he entered from the sacred source. In other words, is this sacred land a near-Earth place? While Falma's hands were shaking and he wanted to drop his smartphone, he connected to the internet through a network that appeared to be Earth's. Time information and numerous applications start data communication. Synchronized. Nostalgia rose in Falma. It's like returning to Earth from the end of the universe. Come on, when is it? On Earth, when is it now? Then the exact day and time that Yukuya died was displayed. When I waited about 5 minutes while researching, the time was rewound about an hour and displayed on the clock. I'm back. The time before I died repeats endlessly and is connected to that other world. Falma posted a simple post on SNS. However, I can't update it permanently. I can download data but not upload it. I can't send a single blank email. In other words, even if you can see information only for an hour or so on Earth's network, it seems that you may not communicate from here. I wonder if the time is cut off. I also tried to look at the location information, but it still wasn't captured. This place is literally another world. In summary, the space and time of the lab I was in was cut off, and I was connected to another world just before or after I died. You can only catch a glimpse of Earth through the LCD of your smartphone. and the information that Falma can currently connect to the network is no longer updated. When I thought that, I regretted it. Is this what an earthbound mind feels like? Thought Falma. Still, I'm grateful I didn't have to look at the information and news about my own funeral. There will certainly be much turmoil after Yakuya's death. Kanji Yakutani left behind world-class achievements. At the very least, it would have been missed by the academic world, and it was famous enough to make major headlines in Japan. The mass media would have dug up his past and spread good stories and scandals about the good news of his death. I might have interviewed my classmates, and my relatives might have made comments. Or maybe one of the Kuya that Falma overturned only once in a lab in another world of cause and effect and survived. Who lived beyond that time as if nothing had happened, and the ego that was split in Falma, they drift aimlessly into another world. That makes me feel empty. It was somehow comforting not to have to witness such things in a one-way street. No one has noticed yet that Yakuya is dead. Or maybe he's alive, but the time when Kanji Yakuya's life and death overlapped. Falma had access to such a timeline. And yet, where in the world is this, Falma thought? I felt like I was being crushed by loneliness. Falma, does your stomach hurt? From outside the room called the Empress, who had lost her deafness. Her voice seemed to have rescued Falma from the whirlwind of thoughts for a moment. I'm sorry. I can't help you. It's clogged with fecal matter, so take it slow. Falma was a little embarrassed, thinking that since he had answered like that, he must have become the one suffering from constipation under the Empress. Anyway, there's something in the underground temple. Don't expect too much. But at least I have a Wi-Fi access point. It may be dangerous, but if things that were previously offline are online and the source can be found, there is a lot of information to be obtained. Either way, I need to make sure. Falma decided to go to the bottom of the earth. Since the Empress and the priests had to wait, I excused myself and went to the underground meeting place. The stairs leading to the basement were steep, and when I descended far enough for a watch, the material of the stairs changed from stone to crystal stone. Falma was careful not to miss the stairs and fall while walking and using his smartphone. The Wi-Fi signal was getting stronger. This aroused Falma's excitement. It seems that there is an access point in the basement. What Falma and the others found was a thick, transparent ornamental door made of crystal stone. Its height and width are many times greater than that of an adult. This is the inspection door. The leading priest said that only the chosen ones who can open the door can go on. The crystal stone door also serves as a divine power meter, and it is said that if a person with insufficient divine power opens the door and goes inside, his spirit will be destroyed. It is said that only pious and 2 high-ranking cardinal priests wait inside. Conversely, there are only 3 people who can open this door in the Great Temple. A door that puts divine power to the test, huh? It's interesting to invite guests and measure their strength. Let me open it, and I will remind you who the Emperor was. The Empress touched the door with both hands and poured divine power into it while pressing it inward. Then 3 animal-like patterns appeared on the surface of the door, and after staring at the Empress, he accepted them and opened the door inward. Ha ha ha, light. His Majesty the Emperor is authorized, please come in. We are waiting here. I will also try. When Falma behind the Empress tried to open the closed door, the door was completely open before he even touched it. After greeting Falma alone, the door closed. After that, among the several holy knights who accompanied the Empress, only those with whom Falma had a connection were allowed to enter. Solomon, in disguise, was well placed in the group but was never caught. The priest had a surprised expression on his face and flattered himself with a bluish face, saying the nearby servants of the Sun Flu Vampire are strong. The vast hollow space immediately after Falma and the others entered the door was like a palace made of crystal stone. A round table stood in the center of the magnificently gleaming interior, and Pius and others waited in their seats for Falma and the others. Welcome to come. Oh, there were many people. I'm fine now. Thanks for waiting. Now then, this is a secret meeting and it is not being recorded. I would like to ask you to speak frankly. Her Majesty the Emperor was also present, but this time we would like to hear from you. The Empress made a disgusted face, but Pius had nominated Falma from the beginning. The Empress was a sightseeing excursion, or rather, a bodyguard and escort. This is rude, but is it alright if I call you Medicine God right away? I can't accept it. While Falma continued to smile, he firmly refused. And before he started talking, he placed the box of Medicine God staff he had brought on the table. Before that, I will return the Medicine God staff. Through Mr. Solomon, I have borrowed it for a long time. Thank you very much for your kindness. That's all right. I didn't expect you to return it. Still, if you're not a medicine god, why did you use the medicine god staff? It's a strange story. There is no other way but to say that I used it because I could use it. Being able to use the staff of the medicine god and who I am are completely different things. First of all, I have never used that name. I don't understand the point of hiding the obvious. Pius seemed taken aback by Falma's determined attitude, but he instructed the cardinal priest standing next to him to receive the box with the medicine god's staff for the time being. I spent a lot of time looking for scratches and unusual parts. Above all, he could not dispel the suspicion that it might be a fake, so he cautiously confirmed that people can't have it. Very good. It is the real thing. Then, Yakushi Falma Dono. Let's get down to business. Did you hear about the hook equipment from Juliana? I heard about it when Mr. Juliana was attacked, but was it around that time? If so, I only heard the outline. That is why I handed over the divine power to Mr. Juliana. This divine power can be used effectively. I was wondering if you could. In any case, in this matter, I would like to hear a detailed explanation, His Holiness Pius. The Empress has set off in pursuit. Falma is not quite there yet, but the Empress still has not calmed the attack incident. However, Pius lightly dismissed the Empress harassing her and calmly apologized. I apologize for going too far with my subordinate's discretion, he said. Pius insisted that he had no knowledge of the matter. If you say so, neither Falma nor the Empress can reply. There is no way to prove that Pius gave instructions. But how do you intend to operate the gears of the hook from now on? Falma don't know. Wait a minute. I really have no idea about claw gears. What the hell is that? Pius then made a suspicious face at Falma's words. From this reaction, Falma concluded that he may have doubted the effect of the truth serum. Do you really not know? I really don't know. First of all, can you please explain what a hammer gear is and why we need divine power? As for Falma, I thought I heard it from Juliana. To prevent the hook that connects this world and the other world from coming loose, the gear of the hook is tightened with gears, and it is said that divine power is needed to move this machine. That's what I've heard, but that's all I know, Falma said. Does this device exist? Where can I see it? Hey Falma. It's dangerous. Don't get too close. The Empress tried to stop Falma from approaching carelessly. Pius grinned. If you're interested, it might be a good idea to see it for yourself. I haven't seen it myself either. After all, it's a device that humans can't see. You might be able to see it. How about you, Increase? Please show me. That's fine, thank you. Pius rose from his seat, leaving the cardinal priest in place, lit his staff and walked slowly ahead through the dark corridor of air that hung over the underground cavern. We go down a slope with bad footing for a considerable time. The footsteps of Pius, the Empress, and Falma echoed in the vast space. I don't know how far I've gone down, but it seems like I've been in the basement for a long time. As Pius illuminated the light of the divine staff, instead of shining, a hall of crystal stones with a flat mirror spread all over the floor came into view. The walls that form the room are covered with black crystal stones, and geometric patterns stand out on the surface. Multicolored fluorescence pulses above, reflecting irregularly like fireflies. The Empress drew her magic wand. Solomon also held a stick. Falma guessed that the geometric pattern must have looked like a divine art formation. Feeling that the magical formation was not set up, Falma took a video with his smartphone before entering the room. And then a bluish-white mass of light invisible to the naked eye reflected like a human soul, and he felt it gathering around Falma. You can't see it, but this room is filled with countless dead people. What here? A dense white mist that contained divine power began to roll in. Pius stopped and turned to Falma and the others. What's behind here is the gear of the hammer. I don't know much about this device. A device? Where is it? Pius answered the Empress's question by pointing to the ground with his staff. The hammer gear is a device that connects two worlds and is powered by the divine power of the gods. It is said that if this gear completely stops turning, the world will collapse. Once or twice in recorded history there was a series of a year that came to a standstill in a crisis situation. It is said that at that time 2 continents and several races disappeared. The traces of the destruction of the continents can be seen all over the earth. Whether you believe it or not, we believe in its lore, and with strict discipline and solidarity we keep the world from collapsing. In the end, even Pius had no way to verify the truth of the lore. Solomon had heard Pius' words from afar. Solomon unleashed a wind magic to dispel the dense fog. Then a clear mirrored surface appeared. What we have here is just a mirrored floor. What does it look like to you? It must be different from what we see, and you're still not reflected in the mirror. Falma has no shadow. Pius claimed that Falma would not be reflected in this particular mirror. While Falma stared in place, Pius traced the letters in the center of the mirror's base with his stick. Then a decorated base of crystal stone appeared, as if growing out of the mirror. Pius called Falma to the side of the pedestal. This is where the tip of the gear of the hook is supposed to be. It is said that the patron deity marked the end of the gear so people could see it. The cherished sword that Juliana brought is dedicated here, and this mirror is it. I absorbed all the divine power from it and sent it into the equipment. On the surface of the pedestal Falma cannot read it, but it is said that the countdown to the destruction of the world is displayed when this gear stops working. Hundreds of bluish laser-like beams shot out from under the pedestal behind the mirror, and I could see them getting weaker the deeper they went. Falma stood in front of the pedestal and, relying on the light, peered deep into the darkness. Instead of Falma's appearance reflected in the mirror, what he could see on the other side of the mirror was a huge mortar-shaped gear mechanism in a large space reminiscent of a black hole. I feel like I'm getting caught up and sucked into the rotation of endlessly connected gears, but I also feel like I saw it somewhere. And it looked like an entrance to another world. Knowing that Falma was clearly looking beyond, Pius shared another piece of information with Falma. It is said that when divine power is channeled through the base, the entire hook harness moves. What you do is up to you. Understood? Falma placed his hand on the pedestal and poured divine power into it to illuminate the inner structure. Then a bright flash was emitted from the pedestal. The thin laser turned into a thick beam that cut through the darkness, and Falma could clearly see what was there. One end of the internal structure of the hammer's gear. A quick check on my phone showed that the Wi-Fi signal was strongest. I wonder if this gear itself is a hook connecting Earth and another world. I have no idea about that at all. And what caught his eye was, isn't it a Mobius gear? It looked like a huge gear combined with a planetary gear and a mechanism like a Mobius ring. The surface layer material is pitch black with a smooth, stone-like texture. In the center of the gear was a hammer-like pattern woven with rays polarized like a hologram. Falma had seen gears with similar designs actually made on Earth. It has a very complicated shape, and I remember that even a model could not be made without printing it out with a 3D printer. Such a large-scale device is not something that can be made by humans. When this gear turns, the back and the front are reversed. I can't even get behind analyzing what it means, what it connects to what. The Empress called out to Falma as if she were looking in from behind. Of course, she doesn't seem to be able to see the gear of the hook. Can you see something, Falma? Please explain. I can see it. I don't know what to say. It's hard to describe. Falma released the camera shutter, but it was too dark to see anything. I want to show it to the Empress, but it doesn't seem like the center of the world would reveal itself so easily. And then he learned the true nature of the déjà vu Falma had been feeling for some time. Ah, was that the room I could see from the window of the laboratory in another world? Falma didn't know what to do as he turned toward the cosmic space that was spinning slowly and steadily with the rotation of the gears. Perhaps the world behind the gears in the mirror is connected to the original time and space. When Falma came to another world, he remembered that his handedness was reversed from his lifetime and that the memo he had written when he was alive was written in mirror writing. In other words, is this other world an inverted world paired with the Earth? Then, if I jump through the mirror and jump into the gear, can I return to Earth? The space beyond seemed terrifying and inviting. Falma thought he should jump in to examine the inner structure, but he suddenly came to his senses when he heard the Empress's hand tap his shoulder and call out to him. The Empress was calling quite seriously. Solomon was also nearby, trying to bring back Falma's consciousness with the help of divine arts. Pius seemed to notice Solomon. "What's wrong, Falma? You were stunned and didn't move for a long time." Not much time had passed after Falma's experience. However, enough time has passed for smartphones. It's as if time has been frozen. My consciousness was pulled to the other side. The gears that may have swallowed successive guardian deities attracted them like an anthill and crushed them. Move on silently. Falma stopped at the last minute. If I had come here alone, I would surely have been fascinated and gone to the other side long ago. Falma was grateful that someone who had a connection to Falma had followed him to this point and was kind enough to let him return to himself. Falma said that it was necessary to unravel the mystery of this device, to gather the ancient information lying dormant in the hidden treasures scattered around the world, and to follow the footsteps of successive generations of guardian deities in order to come to a correct conclusion. I came here. I can't do anything right now. Can I take another look? Please. Pius nodded meaningfully. If I had come here with Pius, I might have been pushed into the gear. That suspicion was never resolved. Anyway, all I knew was that the gears of the hammer actually existed. It became a new headache for Falma.